I don't discuss bad behavior. He already knows. They're not stupid. All these mini therapy sessions discussing bad behavior, it's a total waste of time.
How can you tell if you're a leader? What behaviors will your children show and what will they not show?
When they feel bad and they're kicking and screaming, especially if they're hitting their parents past the age of 3 or 4 years old, think of where their self-esteem is. It is in the toilet. You are not doing them any favors by allowing them to continue to behave like that. Welcome to the Bratbusters Parenting Podcast. My name's Lisa Bunnage. I'm a parenting coach. I'm a mom. I'm also a grandmother.
And I'm Amy Bunnage, Lisa's daughter, and I handle the marketing and planning here at Bratbusters. While I don't have kids, each episode will dive into parenting topics and Lisa will answer your questions. Let's get started.
What are we talking about today, sweetie?
Today is the 100th episode, and we are going to be talking about becoming a calm leader for your kids.
Oh, keeping it general, keeping it just encompassing everything I talk about as calm leadership.
Exactly.
Okay. I want to make it clear after I put this lip balm on.
What a perfect time. We've had a good 10-minute break, and now is the perfect time for some lip balm.
I just started talking. I just sat down. You should see the conversations we have between these podcasts. Anyway, calm leadership. I want to make it very clear. I do call it calm leadership parenting, but it's only calm when you're disciplining. The rest of the time when you're playing with kids, you can be crazy and nuts and all that and just be goofy. But when you're disciplining, that's when it's all business. It's just calm. There's no sternness, or you don't sound like, now here's what you do. You don't talk like that. It's just, okay, so here you messed up. Here's your consequence. Okay, so it's sort of like that. A little bit of a lilt in your voice almost, but no anger, no frustration or disappointment. You're just completely calm, okay, when you're disciplining.
Okay, I think if someone is getting started, possibly the pool story would be a really great place for them to start.
Oh, are you going to make me tell that? Oh, thanks a lot for that. Oh, okay. The pool story, I've told it thousands of times. Meanie. I've told it so many times, I have a hard time saying it. I can't hear myself when I say it. Okay, the pool story, it sort of sums up the way I treat children. And it's a true story. It was my son's 8th birthday, and we had a pool in the backyard. So, and I knew all these kids because I was always volunteering at school, and I was always working with these kids at school. So anyway, so I had 5 little boys come over, and I knew them all. And so there were 6 8-year-old boys. Now, my husband had taken my daughter somewhere just for a while. I think they went to pick up the cake. We were having an ice cream cake. I think that's what they did. So they went to pick up the cake. And so here I am on my own with these 6 little 8-year-old boys in the swimming pool. So I'm outside the pool. And so I said, look, Whaley cannot go in the pool. Now, Whaley was a giant blow-up toy. These kids were 8. I didn't have a foot pump. I did not want to take the air out of Whaley. So I left it blown up, but I put it way off to the side. And I said, Whaley cannot go in the pool because all I'm doing here is counting heads. So I can't see behind Whaley. 3 of you could drown behind Whaley, and I couldn't even see it. So that's it. Okay, go in the pool, have fun. Sure enough, one of the kids brought Whaley in the pool. And it was the kid that I knew probably would. Anyway, so we brought Whaley in the pool. Now, I said to him, Whaley out of the pool now. Now, it was a safety issue. I didn't say, please, nothing. He already knew. He just broke a rule. So when he said no to me. As soon as he did, my son just smiled because he knew mom was going to take action fast. Fully clothed, I jumped in the pool and dragged him out of the pool. And I said, you're going to sit with me for 10 minutes now. I didn't say why because he already knew, right? You don't discuss all this stuff. So, and my son got Whaley out of the pool. Now, this kid's sitting beside me. I'm soaking wet now because I just jumped in the pool. And the other kids are playing, and I'm counting 5 heads in the pool now. And this is what I'm saying to this kid. He's sitting right beside me. I've got the time, my watch going. I'm looking at my watch. So I said, you got 10 minutes now. So I'm asking him about I said, oh, we did a test together, you and I helped you with that test. I hear you got 85%. Good for you. And also I saw you got a gold in soccer the other day. Good for you. And what's your favorite PlayStation game? Blah, blah, blah. I'm just connecting with him. I'm talking about him. I'm trying to build him up and make him feel good. Well, he's talk. And another thing I'm great at, another thing that I like, and me. So the 10 minutes is up. So I said to him, the 10 minutes is up. You can go back in the pool. I couldn't get rid of him. He kept talking all about himself. And I'm looking at my son like, help. So finally my son got back in the pool and it was done. But for the rest of that afternoon, like 3 hours of it, this kid was all over me. Can I help you with that, Lisa? Can I help you with that? Not only did he feel good about himself, but he was the biggest help at the whole party the rest of that day. But I couldn't get rid of him. Anyway, that's the pool story. Now, what did I do there? I laid down the rule initially. There was a couple other rules too, but I laid down the rule initially. And then when he broke the safety rule, I didn't say please or thank you. I didn't repeat myself. I just said, Whaley, out of the pool now. When he said no, I took action, dragged him out of the pool. And then I had him sitting down beside me, and I was very clear. I said, 10 minutes, you're going to sit with me now. I didn't say why. I don't discuss bad behavior. He already knows. They're not stupid. All these mini therapy sessions discussing bad behavior, it's a total waste of time. So anyway, then he's sitting beside me. He's sitting beside me for 10 minutes. During that 10 minutes, my goal is to make him feel good about himself. When they feel good, they do good. When they feel bad, they do bad. He already had enough of feeling bad. I dragged him out of the pool. That was probably a little bit embarrassing for him too, right? It was all over at that point. Then at the very end of that 10 minutes, I did not say to him, go back in the pool, but don't take Whaley in. If I had said, don't take Whaley in, would have wrecked everything. That would have reminded him, by the way, don't forget you're rotten. That's what you're literally saying to a kid if you do that. So I just said, okay, go back in the pool and have fun. All cheery, all positive. Not only did he not bring Whaley in the pool, he said to the other boys, oh, make sure you don't bring Whaley in the pool because it's dangerous. Lisa can't see behind it. You see the difference that made? So I'm focusing on the good kid, not the bad behavior.
I think with your method as well, you're so focused in just how you approach parenting. You're so focused on building up their self-esteem and confidence.
It's everything. If you make kids feel good, they'll do good. If you discuss their bad behavior, dragging them down, you're going to get more of it. Where you put your energy, where you put your focus is what grows. I always put my energy and my focus into the good kid, not the bad behavior. I don't let anything go, by the way. I deal with bad behavior, but it's fast and it's over with, okay? And then I always treat them like they're good kids. Even when I'm dealing with bad behavior, I don't treat them like they're bad kids. I treat them like, you made a poor choice, here's your consequence. That's it.
Now, it may not be a pool scenario, but let's say they're in a field or they're at the park doing something dangerous. How would you approach this differently with a toddler?
Well, I would not have a bunch of toddlers at the park. You mean like a party at the park? I'm very careful with kids. Like I knew all those kids, and we had a pool. We had that pool built. It was an in-ground pool, and I had it built so that the deep end was only 5 feet tall. 5 feet deep. The reason was I thought if a kid ever gets in trouble, I'm 5'6". I can still stand with my head above the water at the deep end. So I literally had everything all figured out already. I knew all those kids. They knew me. And I had it all. I'm very good at planning and figuring stuff out. There's no way I would take a group of toddlers to the park without their moms also dealing with them. Like you have to stay with your toddler at the park. So is that the question? If it was a party at the park?
Let's just say in general, you're correcting behavior from a toddler.
You mean your own toddler? Okay, because we're not talking about other kids at that stage. Okay, so you're at the park and they do something naughty at the park. I would just say if it's a toddler under the age of 3 or has 16 months to 35 months, I would say, so they do something dangerous, I would say no, and I'd pull them away and I'd just say, okay, you're going to sit with me for a couple of minutes or whatever. They're not even listening to that usually because they don't understand it. They're kicking and screaming. And then as soon as that 2 minutes is up, even if they're still kicking and screaming, if I said 2 minutes, they're going back out to play. As soon as they do it again, I'd say no, pull them away for another couple of minutes. I keep pulling them away from the fun.
And then just if someone's looking to get started with calm leadership, how do you approach it with over 3 or 3 and older?
3 and over is the behavior board. The behavior board is free on my website, bratbusters.com, when you join the newsletter. It's a mini course and it's completely free. It also has a toddler section in there, which is that consistent corrective action I just talked about. The pool story was different. It wasn't my kid. And the way I dealt with it, I deal with it the same way with my own kids anyway, the pool story. But, anyway, so that's the behavior board for 3 and above. And there's a rule and a consequence for everybody in the family, 3 and above, including the parents. If you're not on there, you're not a leader. You're just a dictator, right? Or the authority style parent. You have to be on there. You have to be accountable. Usually the parents' rule is no yelling. Most parents yell. So we always start there. And their rule is no yelling. If they yell, they have to do something fun with the kids that they don't normally do. Or the kids can even pick it, 10 minutes of hide and seek or something. So every time you yell, you're stuck playing hide and seek. That just teaches you don't yell. You know, like we all learn through consequences. You might enjoy playing hide and seek. If you do, that's fine too. But generally, your consequence is something fun for the kids. That's what gets them on board with the behavior board. Now, if they break a rule, so their rule is usually if they hit, their rule is no hitting. If they hit, you say, okay, let's go to the board. And you say, okay, your rule was no hitting. You broke the rule. So we're going to start with the first consequence is you have to clean a window within 15 minutes of being asked to do so. You say, okay, make sure it's something they already know how to do. Just give them a wet rag and you say, okay, so just clean down that window or wipe the front of the dishwasher or whatever, just some little menial chore, 2 minutes usually it should last. And say, in the 15 minutes starts now. They're kicking, screaming, whining, complaining. They never do the chore. I don't care if they do it or not. You don't say a word. You're just a timekeeper. You're just near where the chore should be done. You're just standing there calmly timekeeping. Don't go on your phone or don't get into a conversation. I think that's rude because you're dealing with this discipline that you're handing out, right? So you're just standing there. You're not talking to them particularly. You're just sort of looking at the time because they're arguing. So there's no way you'd answer that. So when the 15-minute timer goes, you say, oh, let's go back to the board. Now let me see. You broke the rule. You hit. So then you had to do the chore within 15 minutes. You chose not to do that. So 24 hours, and then you do the second consequence. 24-hour media blackout is the most common one. So if they won't do the first consequence, the second one is 24-hour media blackout. But you can come up with anything that you can do at home. But that's just a really common one. So then you resort to that. Then they'll often say, okay, fine, I'll do the first one. No, it's too late. 24-hour media blackout started 2 minutes ago. Do not discuss it after that. If you discuss it, you're weak. You're not a leader. It's already been dealt with. Let them have a net. But why? I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. I would just go, whatever. Or your choice. Yours, your choice. That's all I'd say. Then I ignore them. Once they've calmed down, then you want to connect again. So as soon as they calm down, you say, oh, you all done? Do you want to go read a book or something? You see, you always want to connect. Not while they're kicking and screaming.
You do talk about how important the connection piece is.
It's more important than the discipline. If you're not connected with your kids, and I mean enjoying them and playing with them and in their world, because fun is their love language. If you're not doing enough of that, none of this other stuff works. It's kind of mean, I think. But because you're so connected with them, you're playing with them in their world, not your world. You don't go to the nail salon with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill or whatever they like to do. So you don't have to be doing that all the time, but you should find a way to enjoy being with your kids. They know the difference between you spending time with them, and you actually enjoying them. And you might have to fake it till you make it, because a lot of parents will say to me, well, I don't enjoy playing with kids. I was lucky. I always did enjoy playing with kids, so it gave me a real edge. But if you don't, you're going to have to fake it till you make it. And it's always doing something in their world, not yours. So you can just time it. Say, look, I got 30 minutes. How about we do some Lego for 30 minutes or something? Just find the time when you can. It doesn't have to be a big chunk of time, but it can just be 10 minutes.
I think circling back on the consequence idea and like having the parents on the board as well, is you talk a lot about giving respect to get it, and the idea of how can you expect your kids to make amends, be good people if you're not modeling that yourself?
Well, they see, monkey see, monkey do, right? I remember that time that I hate cooking, like with I really hate cooking. I cook with hate. Anyway, but I'm very into health, so I made everything from scratch when my kids were growing up, especially. And I remember once they said, Mom, can you please make muffins? And I don't even know why they'd want me to, because they were so awful. They were too healthy. But anyway, they said, can you please make muffins? And I said, sure. Of course, I forgot. The next day they said, Mom, there's no muffins. You forgot. And I said, oh, shoot, sorry about that. I promise I'll make muffins tonight. They were 8 and 3 years old. And I can remember they looked at each other and smiled. And I knew what that meant. You'll understand it in a minute. And I said, I promise. Okay. So anyway, they went to bed. Of course, I forgot. They get up the next day and they come in the kitchen. Now he was the talker because he was older, and she was beside him. So they're 8 and 3. They come in the kitchen, and they're both. He's got this real look on his face like he's going to handle Mom, right? He comes in. I knew I was in trouble. She's smiling from ear to ear. She's loving this. Anyway, they go in the kitchen, and I looked at them and I said, "What?" Because I knew I was in trouble with something. I just didn't know what it was. And my son said, remember last night you said, I promise I'll make muffins? And I went, oh, drats. And he goes, I don't see no muffins. And I said, great, what do you want? Because they knew if I messed up, I'd do something fun for them. And he said, we talked about it. And she's just all smiles. She's loving every second of this. And he says, we talked about it, and we decided we'd like to go to the water slide park tomorrow. So I had to pack their swimsuits for after school and went to the water slide park. But yeah, you have to be accountable. So they loved it when I messed up, which I did all the time. So you see, that's respect. And how did he feel coming in there talking to me like that? Like, it was funny. It was just fun. They've got to be able to handle you too. So, and you've got to be humble and vulnerable with your kids. When I messed up, I always played the fool, and they love that stuff. I go, oh no, am I in trouble again? They love that. Makes them feel empowered. It gives them confidence.
I'm sure as well. We were going to bed. We saw you putting a cup of tea on. We saw that oven not preheated, and we're like, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
They knew they were going to the water slide park the next day. So I swear they didn't even care about the muffins. They just wanted to get something out of me. So that's how it goes. And it was fun, right? And then one time I remember it was just a local water slide park, and it was just nearby us. Anyway, one time we went and well, the same kind of thing happened. I was in trouble. So she whispered something to him because they were conspiring together, right? So she whispered, it was the water slide park. He said, we'd like to go to the water slide park. Then she whispered something. And then he says, oh, yeah. And we're going to go first this time. What I had done the time before was the other time we'd gone to this little park is I said, you can't go down till you stand behind the red line and wait for the go ahead. There was no red line. There was no go ahead. I just ran in front of them and I said, suckers. And I went running down the slide first. So they said next time they got to go first. Anyway, so yeah, it was fun.
If someone's first podcast, you called me a meanie at the very start, sucker right now, they're like, wow.
That was funny. Yeah, they love. I mean, it was just fun. I enjoyed kids. I thought they were just a riot. You've got these little humor victims, like they're just little play, like kids to play with. I just thought it was great. So I used a lot of humor, and they used a lot on me too. So it was fun. We had a blast.
Okay, should we get into the questions?
Oh, there are questions. Okay,
there are. So we have Mara from Canada. For older kids who are strong-willed, my daughter is 7. How to manage resisting, debating constantly. I do think I've been a pleasing parent. Oops. I'm very curious to see how applying your methods will go and hope I can handle my own emotions and dysregulation in those hard moments. Single mom, also she spends 2 nights a week at her dad's, who is very strict and not in a leadership type way. I tend to swing the more pushover, flexible way until I break, partly because I know how hard that is for her with her dad. Challenging cycle.
Okay, so a lot of parents do this. They swing the pendulum one way or the other. So one's too strict, one's not strict enough. So the dad's the authority and you're the pleaser. I don't do either of those. I'm the leader. And don't worry about what happens at dad. You know, the leader will always sort of have the more influence over the kids because the leader brings out the highest self-esteem in them. They tend to feel the most pride in themselves and they tend to like themselves the most when they're with the leader. So you will have way more influence over your kids overall anyway. Okay, so you said debating. So in other words, you're giving her something to argue. You make sure when you lay down the law with your kids that you're in the right. Like what I mean is when you've said, okay, so you broke a rule, make sure you're right. Okay. But if you are wrong, then listen to them and then go along with that. But usually if she's debating, it's usually you probably are right. They just don't like what you've done. Right. So you just say, if she keeps arguing with you, you say, no, I've already said what's going to happen, the end, and just shut it down. If she keeps going at you, just go, whatever, and then change the subject. As soon as she's calmed down, change the subject. Talk about the weather, sing a song, whatever. Just you control the narrative. You control the energy. You're letting her have too much power where she doesn't need it. You want them to have power in that they have a say. Like they have power over themselves, but you don't want them to have power when you lay down the law and they think they can change that. They can control you. And when you've already done the right thing, you just did something she didn't like. Now she's arguing it. Shut it down. Don't discuss it. Parents keep answering these questions because I don't know why they do, actually. I can't even fathom doing that. They already know what's happened. And then they pull you in. But why? But why? What they're saying is, I want my own way. I don't want to listen to you. That's what they're saying. Like, that's why I would never respond to that. But why? Not fair. I'd go, whatever, and just go about my business. There's no way I would respond to that.
Now, I think the clear distinction between that and the Muffin story is it because you were in the wrong?
Oh, completely. Well, how is that even similar? They weren't debating. They came in knowing full well that I was in trouble. I lied. I promised I would make muffins. That's a lie. I didn't make them. So I was in the wrong. There was no debating back. There's no arguing. They just told me I was wrong and I took my medicine.
I just think it's important to note because it's the same concept of the kids fighting back, but there
was no fight. They just came in and told me I was in trouble.
Valid, actually.
That's all it was. So I never fought back. I never argued it. As soon as I saw them to come in, I knew exactly. I knew that face he had on him. He was loving it. And I thought, oh, I'm in trouble. What did I do? I didn't clue in right away, but I knew I was in trouble right away. So
see in the corner of your eye some cupcake liners and you go, oh.
I don't even think I got the liners out.
Okay, we'll get into the next question. So we have Nicole from the United States. Please teach how I can help my daughter find her motivation. I have a 11-year-old. She often gets overwhelmed by routine tasks and simple chores like make bed, unload dishes. It seems like a cycle. She is slow at doing tasks, so to her, they seem overwhelming and impossible. So she moves even slower and they take her forever to complete. When I do the as soon as method, she sometimes flops on her bed in tears and frustration. We've tried incentives, fun music to make chores less dull, mom helping so we can do chores together. We've tried racing the clock, putting time limits, but sometimes the pressure of that sends her into panic. What can I do better? I just noticed she's gotten a lot faster at unloading the dishwasher since it's become a more routine chore for her. But she's been showering or bathing since day one, so why is that one such a challenge?
I'm wondering how many chores she has. It sounds like she's getting paralysis by analysis, like as there's just is overwhelmed. She's got too many chores. I don't know, but I might want to get some checklists going. Just use a plastic envelope and put a checklist inside so that she can use an erasable marker and check off the boxes each day and then erase it and start again the next day. So each morning, make your bed, brush your teeth. She can just check those off. There's just a few simple things to do. So have a time frame when it's done. And then before dinner, maybe she has to set the table, have that one. Then at night, she has to do bedtime routine. Maybe just have a checkbox. And then, I don't know. My gut reaction is you expect too much from her. That's my gut reaction. I could be wrong, but I don't know. Does it kind of sound like that to you too?
Maybe if you start writing out the checklist and you realize you need a page too, maybe.
Yeah, it just sounds like maybe it's a bit much because if she's getting that overwhelmed, and also, do you keep talking about it? Do you connect with her? Do you play with her? Do you talk to her a lot? Do you guys, play music together and, dance together? Is there like joy and fun in the household, or is it just all chores? I don't know. That's my gut reaction was, what exactly are you expecting from her? Is it fair and reasonable? I don't know.
Okay, the next one is Kendall from the United States. My 5-year-old son is constantly saying things like, I hate myself, you hate me, you don't even like me, etc., when upset or when he doesn't get his way. At first, I reassure him that those things are not true at all. But now that I listen to you, I follow your advice and ignore those comments and move on or change the subject. It's been going on for 6 to 8 months now and doesn't let up. My mom heart wonders if deep down he really does think those things are true. Is ignoring the answer here?
Okay, if he says it when he's happy, then it's true. If he's only saying it when he's mad, then chances are it isn't. It's just pure manipulation. Does that make total sense? That's how you tell. If he talks about it when it's a quiet time and he's happy, or you know what I mean, they're not saying much, and you're not mad at him, he's not in trouble, that kind of thing. Then if he says it, then I would investigate. But if it's just because you laid down the law and you took away his PlayStation for the night, and then he says, I hate myself, that's manipulation. That's how you tell the difference.
Okay, the next one is Priscilla from the United States. My daughter is 3 years old. I know you say you can't discipline attitudes, so I'm just looking for advice on how to approach this. My daughter can be very moody. So, for example, when she woke up this morning, she walked down the stairs to find me and I waved hi to her. Me waving hi somehow triggers her, and now she is screaming and crying for 10 minutes straight. I sometimes have a hard time differentiating her tantrums from her being sensitive, so I'm not sure if I should just ignore her or comfort her. She also does this when she doesn't want to do things like brush her teeth. It feels like every battle can turn into this screaming, crying, and whining that drives me crazy. I know you say they only do things that work, and I feel like I've been pretty consistent in not letting her get away from this behavior. Thanks for your help.
They only do things that work past the age of 3 years and 9 months old. So she's 3. She might not be that old. And it is a real time. That's that cutoff. I remember I was saying that 50 years ago. 3 years and 9 months, I see a big shift. They only do what works. And then they did a big study, I think 2 years ago, and they did a 50-year study on that. They said, gee, past the age of 3 years and 9 months, they only do what works. I thought that was funny. Anyway, I was 11 years old and I figured that out. But yeah, she might not be there. But anyway, and then you said, do we coddle her or cuddle her? If she's that moody and you just say good morning and she just, I don't know, what did she say she did? So you wave to her in the morning and then she starts screaming and crying. Sounds to me like she's running the household. She's running the emotions. She is running the energy in the household. I would just be cheery, morning, and then she starts screaming and crying. I'd say, whoopsie, okay, so what a beautiful day. And then just talk to yourself. Just be all cheery and as if it's not even happening. I don't know if there's something else going on. That would be coaching, but that would be my gut reaction, is if she's just moody, she's controlling the energy in the room, and you keep feeding into it by trying to appease her, try to talk her off the cliff. You're giving her attention for that stuff. And that's what she's after. So yeah, we just say, oh, okay, never mind. And then just don't even discuss it. And then just talk about the weather or just, go on about your day.
Okay, we have Jess from the United States. I have a 5-year-old daughter, and I am wondering how much playtime for connection we should try to have each day. I try to fit in small amounts of various kinds throughout the day, but no matter how much my husband and I play with her, she's constantly asking for us to play with her more. The only type of play that seems to fill up her cup is role-playing, pretend play, and that is the most difficult kind for me to do mentally. She is in preschool from 8 until noon each morning, and I am a stay-at-home mom. Thank you for all you do.
So the role-playing is driving you into the nut house? I can see that. There is no set time. But what you should do is time it. Say, look, I'm going to play for 30 minutes. We can play Lego or whatever you're going to do. And then I'm going to go and do my chores. And that's it. Stick by that. So 30 minutes is fine just to play in one session. But I don't really, okay. I included my kids in a lot. So if I was cooking dinner, we were chatting. They don't always need you playing with them, but they do like you to talk to them a lot. You especially. Your brother was very good. She's just doing this smirk. She wanted to be with me all the time. She was my Velcro kid. My son was quite happy to entertain himself from the time he was like 1. But she just wasn't like that. She wanted to be with mom all the time. But I would say, look, we're going to play with the dolls now for a little while. And then I'd say, okay, then that would be the end of it. And then I'd say, okay, you play on your own for a while. So I would get her started with things, but then I would just get up and leave because I had stuff to do. I had laundry to do and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I definitely did play with them, but I sort of timed it. And I said, okay, so I'm going to go do that now. And you can play with this. So I would get started playing with them and then let them finish. But yeah, role playing, that's so funny. Every parent has something they hate doing. I don't know what it was I hated, but every parent has something that they just can't stand doing and all kids want you to do. So I can't remember what I would have had one, but I don't remember what it was. But yeah, you just wanted to be with me all the time. And I remember once saying to you, come on, that's enough. Just scram. And you went walking away.
Well, I'm just remembering that story of the tough luck on the weekends.
Oh my God. My mom was visiting from Canada. We lived in Australia where my kids were born and raised. And she was 3. And I put her, now she was one of those kids, I didn't realize this, but to this day, she has to plan out her whole day. She's always got to have stuff going on. She plans everything. She loved joining stuff. Now I thought, now talk about a kid that should be in kindy. And they started at 3 in kindy. Preschool was 4 years old and then grade 1 was 5. That's the way it was done where we lived in Brisbane. So I thought, well, I'm going to put her in kindy, but I'm going to put her in 2 of them. Now, preschool, I think, was 5 half days a week, but kindy was only 2, and then 2 one week and then 3 the next. But I put her in a private one and a public one. So basically she was gone 5 days a week, right? I can't remember. Maybe it was preschool. Anyway, but I doubled up with her. She loved it. She needed that. She was just that type of kid, whereas my son, I didn't do that with. So anyway, my mom was visiting and I said to my daughter, she just wouldn't leave us alone. She was right there. My mom and I were trying to talk and she's sitting right there with her nose right in the middle of the conversation. And I said to her, that's why you're in preschool 5 days a week. Because we couldn't get rid of her. And she says, she was such a sweet little girl that she said, hard luck on the weekends. I thought that was brilliant. My mom and I just cracked up. But yeah, she was one of those kids that she was Velcro. She just wanted to be in on everything all the time. But yeah, she was really easy. Like when I said, that's it, mom's going to go do the laundry, then she would back off.
Okay, we have one final question. So Miriam from Wales, 2 years and 8-month-old daughters. How can you tell if you're a leader? What behaviors will your children show and what will they not show? I'm struggling to test if I'm doing it right, or will it not become clear until your kids are past the toddler stage? Also, if you're a leader, will your toddlers still go through the no phase? Is it a normal part of development or just a result of lack of leadership?
It's a normal part of development with toddlers, and they still will say no. They'll still have tantrums up until about 3.5, but it will peter out over time. Now, the reason why I know by about 1.5, they start to clue into your leadership was the difference between their father and me. Now, when they started doing the crocodile roll on the change table, when they're screwing all around, they don't want changing their diaper. With me, they would say no, and I'd say yes, and I would just follow through and change their diaper. They gave in really quick. Their dad, on the other hand, they would roll around a lot more because he was more likely to say, how about if I get you a book or a toy? Whereas I wouldn't do that. So that's how you can tell they stop fighting you pretty quicker when your leadership starts to kick in. So yeah, they just stop fighting me.
Okay, well, that was everything as far as the questions. Is there anything else you want to touch on for the Calm Leadership podcast?
The Calm Leadership Parenting. I know everyone wants to talk about discipline, but really that's not what this is all about. It's more about connecting with your kids, making them feel good about themselves. And part of their high self-esteem is being good. When they feel bad and they're kicking and screaming, especially if they're hitting their parents past the age of 3 or 4 years old, think of where their self-esteem is. It is in the toilet. You are not doing them any favors by allowing them to continue to behave like that. So I'm very good at bringing out the best in kids, and then they feel great about themselves. Okay. When you feel good, you do good. When you feel bad, you do bad. So their self-esteem is number one to me. Okay. And that's and then you can just relax and enjoy them. Once they have high self-esteem, they tend to be nice. They're easier to be around. So that should be your number one priority, is their self-esteem. If you keep giving into their bad behavior because you don't want a scene, they know that you're afraid of them. You're afraid of the scene. Don't be afraid of it. It's the learning process. At the other side of that storm is the rainbow. You just got to go through storm after storm until they learn it's never going to work. And the storms are the fit scenes, meltdowns, and tantrums. Okay, I think that's it.
Well, I just want to say, because it is our 100th episode, that we are just like so grateful to have you all joining us each week, because we really love doing this podcast. Like, it's a lot of fun for us as well. And just having you like submit your questions and comment and everything, it just was really wonderful.
You know, this is a caring field business, and we keep saying how lucky that we can afford to run a business that's profitable enough that we can put all our time into this. And we are also helping people. We love what we do. And this podcast is the only thing we do together. My daughter does all the marketing, all the planning. We don't work together at all. And except when we do the podcast. So this is real joy for us. And our goal is always to empower you to get the best behavior out of your children and to be happy as a whole family. It's not just about raising good kids. It's about having a happy family. So if we're helping you, I mean, what a blessing, to be able to do a job that you're helping people. And we take this very seriously. We are very careful what we put out there, because we want to make sure that we're serving you the best that we know how. And anyway, we are very grateful. Thanks so much. So episode number 100. We just started it 11 months ago, I think. And yeah, we did double it. We're doing 2 a week now. We were doing 1, and then it started taking off. So we doubled it. So we're just loving it. Anyway, thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back again with number 101. Happy parenting.
Thanks for tuning in. If you're ready to dive deeper, check out bratbusters.com to learn more about the Behaviour Board, parenting courses, and private one-on-one coaching with Lisa. If you've enjoyed the show so far, we'd love it if you could take a moment to follow, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more parents just like you. The information provided in this podcast is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional advice. Lisa is a parenting coach, mom, and grandmother. She is not a licensed psychologist or counselor. Her services do not replace the care of psychologists or other healthcare professionals. For a full disclaimer, please visit bratbusters.com/disclaimer.